first country that we have to be grateful to is Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka was the only country that actually received the Bhikkhuni lineage from India, way back 3rd century BC. And at that time, we heard about the name of Venerable Sanghamitta, who actually took the lineage from India to Sri Lanka and gave ordination to Princess Anula, King Tisa's sister. And then between that, the Bhikkhuni Sangha in Sri Lanka prospered very well supported, particularly by the royal families. And we hear the stories of the princes as well as the queens who actually became Bhikkhunis. So actually, we could say that the recognition of the Bhikkhunis in Sri Lanka at the very beginning was very highly established. In the year 433, Venerable Devasara Bhikkhuni from Sri Lanka and her group was invited to China to give the lineage to the Chinese women. And at that time, the lineage was taken to China, and it was given, the ordination was given at Nanking, the forest monastery in Nanking. 300 Chinese women received ordination from Venerable Devasara and her Sri Lankan Bhikkhunis. That continued on, Sri Lankan lineage continued on up till 1017. 1017, that was the time that not only the Bhikkhuni Sangha, but also the Bhikkhu Sangha were wiped out from Sri Lankan soil, both in India as well as Sri Lanka. It was a dark age for Bhikkhunis. The Bhikkhus were revived because in Thailand they had Bhikkhu lineage. So they revived the Bhikkhu lineage from the Thai lineage, but not the Bhikkhunis. So it was a dark age until our time. Until our time. Many hundred years, a big gap in between. Now I talk about our time. The very first ordination, international ordination that was for the Bhikkhunis, happened in the West, happened in Fo Guangsan in Los Angeles. That was the year 1988. There were many of our nuns from Sri Lanka, from Nepal, from Thailand actually participated. But I have to report that it was not successful. Not successful because the society was not ready. The Bhikkhunis themselves did not realize what they are getting themselves into. They did not have the infrastructure to take care of them. From Sri Lanka, there were 11 candidates. They flew all the way to Los Angeles, but they got scared. They got scared that the monks will scold them, the monks will not accept. So only 5 of them actually went through ordination. But upon their return to Sri Lanka, Sri Lankan society were not acquainted to the idea of women ordained, so they were not very well taken care of, and also they themselves were not educated. They had the Patimok, but the Patimok was in English and they could not read. And they returned not as a group. In spite of the fact that there were 5 of them, when they returned, they just scattered back to their arama, 1 here, 2 there. So the Bhikkhuni Sangha did not get started. In Thailand also, 2 women went for Bhikkhuni ordination. But when they came back, they did not realize their duty to start the Sangha. So they just returned to their own small household, returned to their Chinese shrine, and being swallowed by society. In Nepal, actually Nepal was most promising because the leader was Venerable Dhammavati, very interesting, very renowned Buddhist nun trained in Myanmar. But upon her return, she went back to wearing pink. So when there is no robe, there is no sign that people could actually recognize you as Bhikkhunis, they also are not successful. We are still struggling with the Nepali, how to help them to revive the Bhikkhuni Sangha properly. Then I come to 1998. Very important. Again, it happened in Bodh, Gaya. 1998, the ordination happened here in the Chinese temple, and it was sponsored by Fo Guangshan. There were 147 women received ordination at that time. The ordination was given by the Chinese Sangha. They followed the Vinaya, which is Dharmagupta. Therefore, the Theravada could not get started with Dharmagupta Vinaya. What happened then? Very important, because this is our lineage. After the dual ordination that is given by the Bhikkhuni Sangha, given by the Bhikkhu Sangha, the 10 senior Sri Lankan Bhikkhu Sangha took the newly ordained, 20 newly ordained to Sarnath, and they performed another ordination in Theravada Sima, only by the Theravada Bhikkhus, 10 Bhikkhus, giving ordination to 20 Bhikkhunis. So this is the establishment of the Bhikkhuni Sangha up till now, that has been recognized academically as well. Venerable Analayo and Venerable Bodhi, would confirm that this is correct according to the Buddha's allowance. O Bhikkhu, I allow you to give ordination to Bhikkhunis. This is way back in Julavaka. So that is the lineage that I have taken. My teacher was ordained in this batch, 1998. And among the Asian countries, Sri Lanka now would have something like 1,000 Bhikkhunis, Theravada Bhikkhunis. Then next is Indonesia. The very first batch of Indonesian women to be ordained, fully ordained as Bhikkhuni, happened in the year 2000. The most senior Bhikkhuni, she was here in the morning. Venerable Santini was here. Then the next country is Vietnam. Vietnam received full ordination in the year 2002. And the Venerable Liu Phap here with us, she is the very first batch, forming the very first batch of the Vietnamese nun who actually received full ordination. And then from Thailand, that is I myself, I received full ordination in the year 2003. So you see that these Dharma sisters, we work together very well. From 1998, the year 2000, the year 2002, and the year 2003. This is the emergence of the Theravada Bhikkhunis as we see. And all of them from these countries that I mentioned, all of them are here. Now, in Sri Lanka, as I mentioned, we have about 1,000 Theravada Bhikkhunis. In Indonesia, they have about 6, 3 from this arama and 3 from another arama. And in Vietnam, after this ordination, it's about 20. In Thailand, we have something like 280. That's a good number since 2003. It is very important that the Bhikkhunis work together, because there are certain Sanghagama that needs 5 people, certain Sanghagama would need 10, would need 20. So very important that once you're ordained, you don't become an individual. You have to stay together as Sangha. So as I move along, among the Thais, we have to depend on each other. I have to invite Bhikkhuni from that arama, this arama, to come together to recite Patimokh. And when Venerable Liu Phap came back from India, when she started Katina, we from Thailand flew to Vietnam to help her conduct Katina properly. So when all of us are concerned about the importance of the Vinaya, in order to keep the Dharma Vinaya strictly, we have to depend on each other. Emergence of Asian Theravada Bhikkhunis cannot happen if there is no dependency upon each other. I would like to present some slides for you to see how we are, and I think I can imagine that next year it will be published in a book form, just like what we did last year. Yeah. Yes. Just to show you the map that Buddhism is all over the world. From talking about King Ashoka, how the lineage of the Bhikkhunis went from India to Sri Lanka. And also Venerable Sanghamitta. This is Venerable Sanghamitta going with her group of Bhikkhunis. In the back is the King Tissa, and in front is the Bodhi sapling. This is a painting in one of the Sri Lankan temple. Catherine de Alvis, who was the one who actually brought Dasasila Mata back to Sri Lanka in 1905. I just mentioned about ordination in 1988. There were only 5 Sri Lankan Bhikkhunis who actually took ordination. The photo of them is on the right. The map of Thailand with their connecting countries. In Thailand, the ordination started, the attempt of ordination started as early as 1928, but failed. These, you could see the faces of the Bhikkhunis at that time and their father. Then in 1971, my own mother went to Taiwan to receive ordination. So she became the first Bhikkhuni, but still Mahayana, because at that time there was no Theravada lineage. Now we talk about Nepal. This is Venerable Dhammavati. I just mentioned the very first Bhikkhuni who received ordination in Los Angeles in 1988. She's still alive. She's still alive. And Myanmar. Myanmar, there was one case of a nun who was ordained Upasambhada, received full ordination with me, but she could not keep the robe due to the suppression of the government and the Sangha. So you have only 8 or 10 precept nun. This is Sajjavati, the one who took ordination in 2003, but later on she disrobed. Fo Guangshan helped to revive the Bhikkhuni ordination. And this is the Fo Guangshan and the Bhikkhu Sangha in Bodh Gaya, 1998. That is the historical ordination. Venerable Somalangara, one of the 10 senior monks who was supporting the Bhikkhunis. Part of the 20 candidates who received full ordination in Bodh Gaya. Venerable Santini, first one in Indonesia. These 2 younger generation also in Indonesia. And this is our famous Vietnamese nun among us, Venerable Liu Phap. This is where we were ordained in the water, Sima in the water, in Sri Lanka. This is, of course, me. The background is Fo Guangshan. I went to visit them in Fo Guangshan. And this is another famous ordination. 8 Bhikkhunis were fully ordained in Thailand, but was refused by the Sangha. Even though the Sangha Karma was done correctly with 12 Bhikkhunis and 20 Bhikkhus. 20 Bhikkhus. Now come back to Mahabodhi Society. So I'm just opening my arm to welcome our Bhikkhuni Sangha as well as our brother Sangha to lead us, to guide us. Thank you.